Hello everyone, this is John from Compass Rose Bushcraft, and my video today is about a small forge that I have made. I dabble a little bit in some tool making, knife making, a very little bit, usually to create things that I don't have. I made a crooked knife last year, for example. But in the heat treating of it, I found that it was very difficult to do just with the torch that I had and whatnot, so I figured I would look at how to make a small forge mainly for heat treating, softening and then hardening the metal. And so I want to show you the forge that I made and talk a little bit about how it works and the components that went into it. It was all done very inexpensively. The basic ingredients were some sand, some plaster of Paris, an old propane tank that had been let to drain for a couple of years, and some old inner tube and a tiny little shop vac that I was given. So without further ado, here's the forge, and I'm going to heat it up and soften the steel of it for a knife that I'm making. So here is the forge itself. This is a small, I guess 25-pound propane tank. It was left with the valve open and the hose on to reduce any pressure and allow it to drain for probably almost 2 years. And then very, very cautiously, with lots of oil, I drilled a small pilot hole, knowing there was no pressure in it, but wanting to make sure that any fuel in it could bleed off. And drilled several tiny little pilot holes, and then gradually widened those. Poured some water in through those holes to make sure that it was cleared inside. And then, once I was sure that there was nothing combustible in it, used an angle grinder to cut it to shape. What you see there, it's sitting on its original base. Then I punched a hole in the side of it and put through some black tube, black steel tube, which I had perforated with some small holes, and then attached an inner tube to it. And the advantage of the inner tube, I have found, is that as the air pressure comes on, the inner tube expands, so the air pressure doesn't just suddenly shoot into the forge, but builds up to the intensity that it's needed. And then when you turn it off, again, it slowly diminishes, and that seems to work fairly well. Once I had put the black pipe into the forge container, I then layered it with sand in the bottom to prevent heat from translating down to the bottom of it. And then, according to instructions I had read, mixed a 50-50 plaster of Paris and sand mixture and lined the forge, covering the sand and lining the metal with the plaster of Paris. And again, it prevents the metal from superheating when the forge is at temperature. As you can see, it's had one burn in, and today I'm going to burn it in with some real charcoal rather than just the softwood that was in it currently. And heat treat a knife to soften it. The steel, it's a spring steel knife that I prepared using my angle grinder. Now I want to soften the steel so I can put in the holes for the pins and for the lanyard and begin to put an edge on it, finish shaping it and put an edge on it. So I'll show you that in just a few moments. But here's the rest of the forge as it moves along through the inner tube over to the little shop vac that is going to drive the air for it. So I'll show you it again once we have some charcoal in it. So the little forge brought the knife up to a nice rosy color, and then I turned the forge off and I'm letting the knife sit in the coals, and as the whole thing cools down, and with any luck at all, by the time that process is done, the knife will be soft enough to work and to drill the holes that I need and whatnot. I'll then finish it off on the grinder, put in the edge, reheat the forge to bring the knife blank up to the temperature I need in order to be able to harden it. and place it into some warmed oil and see what happens. Anyway, this is John from Compass Rose Bushcraft. Thanks for dropping by. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.